All right. We now have to get on to the next issue, and it's about the position that seems to have been taken by the Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, Alban Bagbin, on the LGBTQ++ bill that is before Parliament, and emphatically making a position or stating a point. Just because Uganda, just last week, also decided to prove a point to the developed West. This is what he said.
We need to legislate. Our friends just passed their law in Uganda. We may not go the way they have gone because our constitution is very clear as to the direction we should move. And so we'll be guided by that. Because if we pass any law against the constitution, it's unconstitutional. So we have to do that. And so what are you afraid of? If you have the whole people behind you, if God is with you, who can be against you? And if God says, please go into the wilderness, multiply and fill the world. That is God giving you that command. If somebody says, please don't multiply, how can that person be strong? I don't only speak this way in Ghana. Even at the last meeting we attended in IPU at Bahrain, anybody who listened to my speech, there were sentences on this matter. Luckily, maybe because it's a Muslim country, they applauded me. If they're somewhere else, they will be asking questions. As the Vice President just did, is it yesterday? I mean, these things should not be tolerated. That is undemocratic. What is democracy? That somebody else will have to dictate to me as to what is good and what is bad? Unheard of. Because we have decided to devalue ourselves and go a-begging. Come on. We have more than enough. God has created more than enough for every person. It's just because you are looking at somebody else's share, not yours. We have enough in the world. The bill will be passed. This is the word to His Excellency the President. There is no way he can intervene. That answer he gave. That is now before Parliament. And when he gets to a stage that he will come in. Hey, please.
Mr. Alessegbefe, what do you make of this? The Speaker of Ghana's Parliament be emphatic on a position which should be left to the plenary, the people's representative.
As my colleague has been saying this morning, when you're in the House, you have relationships. So you have a general view of perhaps how people are going to react. Let's be clear. It is a very emotive subject. And because of the general view in Ghana, you don't see MPs, or I haven't seen them, speaking anywhere in favor. They talk about caution in how you go about the bill. You've got some civil society organizations, human rights lawyers and others questioning the letters and whether they are human rights issues. But you never hear any MP, at least I haven't. I can't count 5, if let alone 1, who has come out and said openly that this is a good thing, a bad thing, and we should allow LGBTQ to flourish, and therefore the bill should be thrown. I haven't heard one MP. I haven't. And it's because of that that Bagbin has the strength to make that type of a statement. I also think that a number of issues are mixed up. One, One of the things we as political parties do when we want to know where we are, independent companies make money from it, is they do a survey of people's views. I have not seen, and maybe because it's not published or I haven't seen anybody put out a survey. I'm not just talking of something on a radio station or TV station. I'm talking of a proper institutional survey
A
as to
quantitative survey,
what
scientific.
Ghanaians' views are as a people on this matter. It's not been done. And for the people who are very pro, I think it is imperative and important that at some point it should have been done or should be done. Because this is a matter that we as a people should not leave in one person's hand or the other. We should for once look at it from a nationalistic point of view and go with what the people of Ghana have to say on the matter. So that it doesn't look like, oh, this person is against, this person is not. No. What are Ghanaians saying? And there are two issues. One is the issue of whether you are against or accept the position of LGBTQ. The other is an issue of sanction. You see, and when you put the two together, you miss the point.
Why?
Because some people may be there who are against LGBTQ, but have a problem with the kind of sanction or sentence that you are going to impose. I say this from experience as a prosecutor. In London, they passed a law that said if a dog bites you or bites anybody, the dog, if it falls into a certain category of dog, once it is proved that the dog did the biting, the dog must be put to sleep. The dog must be killed. We had a group of 3 magistrates on the bench, lay people. They are not lawyers. They are advised by a clerk. And the chair lady of it was not aware of that aspect, saying the dogs must be put to sleep. And she's a complete dog lover. But when she listened to the case, and they all agreed that, yes, the dog had not been handled properly and it had bitten this person.
If you say dog lover, what do you mean?
She loves dogs a lot. She likes animals. Yes, as pets. Okay. She said, no, sorry. Okay, I understand the question.
Yeah,
no,
because we have bestiality and some of those
She
things.
is somebody who loves animals.
And they're all part of the LGBTQ plus.
No, but not in that sense. She just likes pets. She's a pet person. Nothing to do with any sexual connotation. No. I'm just saying she likes pets. So now she had to make a decision. Now, the clerk then advised her that the law says that you must now order for the dog to put to sleep. Then she said, no, I'll change my decision. I won't agree. Then the dog, they said, no, you can't do that. You are in court. You are the chair. Your colleagues that you have sat, you have made a decision.
What's your point?
She got up and she left and she was in tears. The point is that the sentence can also affect how people look at the law. Because somebody might decide that I do not want LGBTQ. But if Kwame, who is my cousin, is going to be imprisoned for this matter, then let it go. Because I won't let Kwame be imprisoned.
Is it your view or something you're picking from?
No, I'm just saying that it is an emotive subject. And we are making a lot of decisions.
That is an emotive subject in Ghana?
Yes, I'm saying that the generality of our religions, what do I mean?
Social-cultural values.
Social-cultural values, everything, do not favor LGBTQ. So we have to be careful. I'm also of another view or another aspect. We create, as a society, people who become bisexual or homosexuals.
How did you come by that conclusion?
When you jail a man for 10 years in prison, do you allow his wife to go and meet him?
Are you saying that the absence of having sexual relations...
You see, you have to look at this thing...
Because we have Catholic priests who
they have made a choice.
Are celibate.
And we have Catholic priests who have children. Please, look.
Catholic priests who have children?
People, do you know how many Catholic priests have had to be moved from one country to the other because they have touched children, pedophilia, all sorts of things?
For the pedophilia,
but they have children. And they have to move away.
He's baiting you. Be careful.
So
you say he says. You see that he says I'm mischievous. You see what he's saying.
The
He's
rules,
baiting you. Be
no,
careful.
I know. The rules are
mischievous.
there, but there are always people who can't adhere because you are dealing with emotional feeling. But what I'm saying is that as a society, we tend to create some of these things that exist. Because somebody can go into prison without having a penchant whatsoever for making love to somebody of the same sex. But because of rape and what goes on in the prison and whatever,
which is true,
he comes out with a flavor for it. He may not, but he will have now a flavor for it. What steps are we taking to deal with such a person? And we say that now the person should be imprisoned or whatever. So I'm not in favor in any. I believe that because of my religion, that this is not something. But I don't think that the draconian. It's interesting. Your previous speaker said that suicide is very high in that area
among the community.
Exactly. Now, in the same breath, he says that there's a mental state to it. So what are we saying? You understand? And that is why I'm saying that let's go and have the debate and let's separate the two issues. One, are we as a people interested in LGBTQ? And I haven't heard an MP or anybody say, I haven't heard a Muslim cleric or anything say anything positive about it. I haven't heard a priest. It is obvious or clear, even without.
So you're saying the status quo should remain?
The status quo should remain.
And
with proper research.
Okay. Mr. Titus Glover, there is a certain public opinion out there that when the Vice President of the United States of America came and raised the subject of the human rights, the President's response didn't reflect what the values, cultures, systems, the public opinion currently of the Ghanaian people. He likes saying the phrase of the Ghanaian people. And that he was not very categorical, and he seems to be the only president in the Fourth Republic who hasn't been categorical on the subject.
He has been categorical.
What does he say?
I recall last year, yes, in the Anglican Church in Mampong, there was this heat on this homosexualism and gayism that came up. It was so intense in the country at the time. And when he mounts the podium in the church, he made a decisive statement that this ungodly acts, homosexualism, gayism, would never happen under his watch. At that time, there was no any foreign, what we call it, before him. When His Excellency, the former president, may he so rest in peace, when he also made that first bold statement, there was nobody before him. It doesn't mean if the person is before you, so you should tell him what it is. And the fact that he made a statement, he said, look, the fact that it's a human rights issue, this is a lawyer, a professional lawyer. And when the lawyers are speaking, they are very careful because of their training and their background. Because the forum and the platform to deal with this problem is before Parliament, there is very little the president can do about it. He has no control, he has no authority. And he said, look, apart from the human rights angle, the general feeling, I don't know whether you heard what the president said, if you could play his audio. He said the general feeling of the Ghanaian populace. You mean the president? The latest one. The latest one. The general feeling. And what is the feeling of our people? This is something that would detest it. But the president went to have an interaction with Al Jazeera. Please, we'll move on from Al Jazeera. And he did say... We're in TV3. We are talking TV3. He did say that if right now, we don't have the mass of public opinion for it. So he cannot be for it. But if we have the mass of public opinion, then it will be a time for us to confront the issue. That's almost like baiting and being very receptive and soft on the issue. Roland Walker, after the Al Jazeera interview, he made a bold and decisive statement in the Anglican Church that this ungodly acts will never happen under his watch. This is a president who has girls, daughters, last year, or was it last year? One of them got married. He gave the hand of the daughter to a man. And you think the president will allow these things to happen? So the fact
Nobody
that,
has said the president will allow.
No. Look at the action of the man.
Everybody has said
Roland
that the
Walker,
president's
can you
position...
allow me to flow? Please, what is your problem?
This, okay, so William Kwabena Bechisa, I should ask you.
Don't ask me. I was on the floor. Please.
Are you for or against it?
Me.
You.
I'm against it. In fact, when Alex was talking, he said he has only had one or not more than one. In fact, let me commend my younger brother, Nate George. Sam George. He has been the spear, low ranger in this thing. I have 3 girls. I have 3 girls. And you want me? Sitting here. I should give my daughter to a woman and give my son to a man. It can never happen. But clearly, you see, when you go into the Article 26 of the Constitution, 26, 1 and 2, and with the permission, let me quote, every person is entitled to enjoy, practice, profess, maintain, and promote any culture, language, tradition, or religion, subject to the provisions of this Constitution. 2, all customary practices which dehumanizes or are injurious to the physical and mental well-being of a person are prohibited, quote and unquote. This gayism and this sexual thing is a foreign culture. We are Africans. The West cannot tell us how we should govern or how we should handle ourselves. Fortunately for us, when the vice president was coming, she came with her husband.
Sure.
She came with her husband. Beautiful. But in the same West, they don't side with polygamy, because that is unlawful under their system. And we as Africans, polygamy is part of our culture. Do you understand?
It's also unlawful here, but it depends on
how you do it.
If you're a Muslim,
you can do it.
If you're a traditionalist,
if you can. On the civil marriage, you can do it. Yeah. But on the cultural marriage, you can do it. So clearly, we are 2 distinct people, and nobody should push the other to do what we should do. Yeah. And
the way you are saying it, that is what the public wanted the president to say.
No. Roland Walker, the president has communicated already. What is waiting for?
Listen, you are not coming to explain the thing that the president said. That's the
Roland
problem.
Walker, after Parliament has done its bit, they have to bring to him assent. And that is where he has the task.
Do you think the way the president is communicating,
he has no excuse? Because if he doesn't assent it, he will put his own government and the party into a problem. Because the feeling of the country, in his own statement, the feeling and the mood of the country, with what Senior said, the research is always there. Well, they are telling us on our face.
Yes.
If we are not careful as a political party and as a government, we are finished. The members of parliament, the electorate are watching them. If they take themselves out and vote against it, they will be in trouble. So for me, I know the president is a wise man. He knows what he's going to do. And immediately that is done, he should not waste 2 minutes. He should just sign it and let's have our peace.
Look, here we are.
I want to make a clarity so that I have an issue with the sentencing. I don't have a problem.
The sentencing.
Yes, I think they have to look at it.
But there's also a bit that says psychological help.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is where.
So that's the first option before sentencing.
Yes. So, but they should look at it, because that is where I think a lot of concern for human rights lawyers or people have. But I think that it is clear that the generality, and as I said, there's no, that Ghanaians don't. So I don't even want to argue or push the point. It's not a matter to drag. Okay. And that is that. But I was answering the question why Bagbin had the force to be able to say it will pass.
Because he was speaking.
He was talking for people.
Space.
So, yes.
He's in his space.
He's speaking the opinion. The opinion is, Charlie, this one there, we don't like it.
Yes.
But look, you're a great statesman. You've lived in the UK. You've been chairman, NDC, Ireland. Because you're a minister, you interacted. He too has interacted with many people from our multilateral partners, the developed West. We're now, before the Bretton Woods institutions, we're telling those in the market that we want to create space. We are now going to manage our money very well. And these are white people. Some of them big LGBTQ fans. Now we are here, and so is it not that we have to be tactful? You get what I mean?
As I said, one, at the end of the day, is the voice of the people.
That matters.
Yes.
Okay.
Look, let me use America for instance. The amount of killings with guns that are taking place almost every 2 weeks.
Daily.
And I'm talking of the mass this day.
It's even become a concern. Just yesterday, there was a shooting.
So you ask yourself, why haven't they just immediately gone out there and banned the sale of guns and whatever? There are real concerns about it, apart from the fact that it is one of the biggest lobbies. The arms area is one of the biggest lobbies in the United States. There are also people who have a strong belief that from their history of the Wild West, they should have guns. That is their belief.
That's in their constitution.
They are entitled to be armed. And if you come and tell that to us in Ghana here, we'll say, but please, nobody should be wearing gun and holster. You can't go and put a tank and say it's your personal tank or your bazooka and say you are keeping. It's not allowed. But in this thing, so long as you have the right permit or whatever, you an individual, you can go ahead and do that. So even they themselves, in trying to change that dynamic, they are taking it gradual. Why is it that you are telling us to do Big Bang? It doesn't work like that. The reason why LGBTQ has always been like an offense, what was the trigger to make it this difficult? They introduced it into our schools. When you start playing with people's children's future, bang, you have hit a wall. So when this government decided that they would try, for whatever reason, to try and make it something that children can, parents got upset. That, is it because we are not talking about it and we are all that we think we like it? And by that means, the church and everyone, so Sam George then becomes the pivot because of his Christian values and his beliefs. And says, no more. And now he has the best ally in this matter, the speaker. And he knows that nobody on the other side can talk against it. You lose your election in your constituency because the generality of the people are not. So anybody who opens his mouth on this issue, that, oh, you are finished.
But looking at the way your MPs voted, can we trust them?
Don't say this, oh. You have just broken my heart.
You see, it's risky. You see, it's risky. Roland, this matter, we must continue to engage ourselves in as much as, and I want to repeat myself again, that lawyers are always careful when it comes to this issue about this ungodly acts because of the human rights angle. But the same constitution tells us as to how cultures that dehumanizes us, as
the one you just quoted.
Yes,
26.
it's also something that we need to look at. I heard Alex saying that we started introducing it in our schools.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Oh.
I don't remember as part of a curriculum that they are teaching children lesbianism. I have never heard about this before. This is news.
Oh.
And this can never happen.
Okay.
This can never happen under Akofu-Addo's watch. When we knew very well,
printed textbooks
maybe through
on
the back
market.
door or something, quickly they have to pull it out. But it's not a position of government that they should teach our children these things is in our schools. Not at all.
That's
Do
true.
you understand? So clearly, I think that let's continue to engage and make our position very forceful and believe our MPs are going to do what is right, because both Muslim, Christians, even including tradition,
yes,
are not in support and favor of these things. Because if a member of parliament and you are not able to support this legislation, and it is found that your end has come, Your end has come. And nobody should also think that His Excellency the President is in favor of any lesbianism or gayism, whatever it is. All that he's saying is that, yes, we look at the human rights angle and the general feeling of the Ghanaian populace. But because currently it is not before me, the right platform and the forum is the House of the Legislature, where they have every power to deal with the subject. Thankfully, you have a Catholic speaker, strong faith in the Catholic faith, who believes that, look, this is something that we need to deal with it. And listening to Sam George in the course of the week, I'm told the articles involved in the bill is just about 15, 16 articles or so. Maximum about 18.
Current status, so
It's changed from the initial one.
Yeah,
There's been a lot of
the Attorney General also has been there because the committee met various groups,
stakeholders,
civil society organizations, the religious leaders, the civil whatever, all those who matter, and they've taken all the positives and the negatives that's associated with this bill that is coming. So clearly, we think that our MPs are going to help us and give us something that will be acceptable as Ghanaian, because some are not happy the position of the Ugandans. That is Uganda. That is how they want to deal with their own. So it has come to our own, and we'll have to deal with it. And I can tell you, the president will not waste time
on this, because
his government and his party MPP will have the shock of our lives.
Okay.
So I know the president will do the needful.
Pablo Humble says I should remind you whether you were aware some time ago that we had books on the market about comprehensive sexual education. I remember I even did a story on the subject.
I haven't.
At the time,
Alex spoke about it.
At the time, the Minister of Education was Matthew Akofu-Addo. He came out vehemently, but it was after, apparently, he was at an event which he spoke as a guest person representing the ministry. And, in the West, comprehensive sexuality education is creating a lot of controversy among faith groups and conservatives, especially in the US.
I don't know. I've never heard
didn't
about
follow
it.
the issue.
That's why I was asking.
So they usually use those backdoor
to. So quickly, they have to cut it off.
By the time you see
it's infested.
Yeah.
Let me hit you small. You see,
please hit him.
If you had provided textbooks, you would have a good argument. There were no textbooks available, and they were letting parents go and buy textbooks on the market for their children. That gave them, and those books were part of the book. So people then began to go and take this book, and then say, but this is not what we are. So it wasn't that the government itself had provided those textbooks.
Yeah.
No.
It was not a government policy.
No.
It is
but
still
they
not a
had
government
created
policy.
an environment.
A recommended book?
Well,
No.
So we have the
that
recommended
the
books, and then so it was not a recommended book,
No.
but it filtered through onto
system.
the market.
That was what was available.
I'm
It was
happy they
not.
took it off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he sharply dealt with it. That's Matthew Akofu-Addo. But now let's get on to the Boku crisis, and it's a